Tony, Kansas City, you're in the Wilkow Majority. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Fine, how are you?
Hey, really enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Hey, I wanted to just question or probe a little further on your illustration there about what a principle is. I couldn't agree more that, the fact that absolutes have eroded in our country is a primary catalyst in what's going on and what's wrong with us. And you're the first person I've heard say that there is principle. There's a right and there's a wrong. I just happen to disagree with you feeling your statement that pornography is not an absolute wrong, and it's not something that the federal government should use its power to try to eradicate.
But see, that pushes me into a defense of pornography, which is what I'm not defending. What you open up now is the internet to government censorship. To think that the government is going to say, well, we're just gonna get porn off the internet, and that's going to be it.
I'm comparing it, but I'm not considering pornography speech anymore. I'm considering it a virus. Just like if we had a major germ outbreak in Oregon, what would the federal government do to contain it? It's not a speech issue anymore. It's something that is absolutely.
Well, the difference between a germ, there's no pornography for there's no market for the germ you're talking about. There's clearly a market, a multi-billion-dollar market that's out there. And if Rick Santorum thinks that's the biggest problem facing this country, if that's the stand he's taking right now, I'm sorry. I feel like, and I hate to say, and I always say this on this program, don't get me wrong, I always say that nobody has the right to tell you what's a real issue. Nobody. But if there's enough people who think that pornography is the most pressing issue in this country and want to vote for Rick Santorum, so be it. I will never tell anyone who to vote for. But I got news for you. I got news for you.
There is a market for drugs, illicit drugs, and we have a war against it.
Okay, and again, out of principle, where does the federal government get the authority to tell the states they can't legalize marijuana? I don't smoke marijuana. I don't plan to start smoking marijuana.
When it becomes a domestic threat, which is what both of those are, a domestic threat.
So again, you are willing to always offer up more power to the federal government.
I'm saying that the part of the federal government is...
The only reason why drugs are a national security issue is because we've empowered organized crime. That was the same argument they made during the liquor prohibition, sir. That alcoholism was a threat to national security. We had to get rid of alcohol. And you know what happened? The mob said, we'll give it to you.
But I don't know, do we go far enough? I mean, I don't know enough about prohibition to understand the reasons why we...
The temperance movement said that the biggest problem facing America was alcohol. That was the demon du jour. And they moved to use the Constitution, and I agree. They used the process. If it's the one thing I will always say about prohibition, they did it the legal way. I disagree with the wisdom, but they did it the legal way. They got 3/4 of the states, 2/3 of the House, 2/3 of the Senate. And then they created such an enormous black market. They gave rise to organized crime, the kind of organized crime that didn't exist prior to prohibition in this country. And everybody was in on it. Police were confiscating alcohol and consuming it. The politicians were going to speakeasies. Everybody was in on it until finally it was like, okay, enough's enough. We got to overturn this.
And so are you saying that's the case with illicit drugs right now, that everybody's in on it? And so
I'm not saying everybody's in on it. I'm saying that the states should decide how much of a war on drugs they want to fight with unfunded federal mandates.
Well, if you're saying the Constitution, which I believe as well, is a principle-based document authored by principle-based individuals, then they should be empowered to take the fight when they believe there is a principle that affects the...
But where do they get the constitutional authority to exercise the federal government? That's the problem.
What does the Constitution's language regarding a domestic threat?
The Constitution, an invasion or treason.
What about
an invasion or treason, sir? Those are the two biggest ones mentioned in the Constitution. Deadheads getting high is not one of them, sir.
But protection against foes, domestic and foreign.
But who determines what the foe is? You see, you're assuming that your view of it is the equivalent to 309 million Americans.
I'm assuming that there is a right and a wrong.
There is a right and the wrong. If you don't want to smoke marijuana, as I don't smoke it.
But that's where we're disagreeing. Is it a value? Is drugs a value?
But based on what value, sir? Again, the Constitution, does not provide the federal. Okay, is cheating on your wife right or wrong?
Wrong.
Should the federal government have adultery laws?
No.
Well, why not? That's wrong.
Actually, I'm not really prepared to answer that.
Adultery is the breakdown of the American family.
I believe that at one time in society, yes, adultery
was.
But
where would you get the power to use the federal government to pass adultery laws? State laws. The states had sodomy laws, not the federal government.
Sure. And I'll assume that you're correct on that. But there are also things that the value, there's a higher value argument here. And some are willing to say that, yes, pornography is a speech.
But, sir, okay, I got to let you go. I'm going to let you go with this one.
Okay.
The exact argument that you're making is what the anti-gun left has been making to violate our Second Amendment rights for God knows how many years. They believe everything you just said empowers them to ignore the Second Amendment, and that's what we're dealing with. Thank you very much for the call. 1-866-95-PATRIOT.